Maybe this describes how you feel sometimes. Your life is like a play and you're the star and you're up on stage, you're all alone and you're in the spotlight. And you're facing a packed house and you desperately want to deliver an effortless, beautiful, meaningful speech or soliloquy, but you can't because you can't find your own words. And it's frustrating. You feel anxious, you feel stifled, and the best that you can do is deliver somebody else's speech. But that doesn't sit quite right because those aren't your lines, they're not your words, and they don't exactly express what it is you're trying to express from within. At best, it's just a poor substitute. Well, if you feel this way, I think it's very normal. I think it's normal because there are so many substitutes that society offers us in place of us finding our own voice, in place of us discovering our own lines for the speeches that we want to give in the play that is our life. Substitutes that say, look, if you use this product or service, it can express who you are. It can express what you're trying to express, even if you can't find your own words, right? And there are also plenty of distractions that just distract us from the fact that we feel frustrated, right? When we're the star of our own play and we can't find the lines. We can't come up with the words, from within. And I think one of the most effective ways to come up with the lines for the play, for your role, in the play that is your life, is through writing. Just writing down your thoughts, writing down your feelings, trying to draw out from within, these thoughts and feelings and expressions that are most meaningful to you. And, like on YouTube, there are a bunch of videos on like commonplace books and journaling and how to journal and techniques for journaling and formats for journaling. And a lot of these videos have like hundreds of thousands or millions of views. And, it tells me, one, if it were so easy and obvious, like people wouldn't need to watch these videos, right? Like, how many times you watch a video on how to tie your shoes, right? Like once you figure it out, you're pretty much good. You don't need to keep learning. And also it's like, because there are so many views of these videos, it's like for whatever reason, people are having trouble getting started. And maybe this describes, your experience, but I think for a lot of us, perhaps deep down, there's a fear of getting started. It's not so much of like, oh, I don't know the right technique, on like how to hold my pen, or should I use the bullet format, or like what kind of notebook should I use? I think it's a little more fundamental. I think it's perhaps a fear of getting started because you're afraid that the words that you put down on paper aren't going to be worth writing, and they are definitely not going to be worth reading, right? I think vast majority of us, have a internal fear of like, oh, I can't express myself, but if I try, I'm going to fail miserably. And so you don't even get started writing. And I think a lot of people just like continue to watch video and video on how to get started writing because they're afraid to actually get started. I have a perfect example, in my own case. This is one of these like Moleskine books. They're $20 on Amazon. And I got this for a present like years ago, and I've never used it. Like totally brand new condition. Why? Because it's this like beautiful, pristine notebook that I don't want to ruin with like writing down whatever common nonsense thoughts and feelings I might have. It's like, my concern is whatever I write down is not going to be worth ruining this beautiful book. And so it just sits on my shelf as this like beautiful new book that I can look at. And I think this feeling is like pretty common, okay? And, my suggestion in order to be able to get started is to, when you sit down to write, tell yourself whatever you write, okay, as soon as you're done, you're going to rip it up into little pieces and throw it out, all right? You don't even have to read it, right? Because I think, part of the fear of getting started is knowing that, okay, if I have to read what I'm going to write, it might be pretty embarrassing, even if I'm the only one on the planet who's ever going to like read this stuff, all right? What I do is I just use like cheap computer paper. I write for 2 hours every day. I sit down every morning, generally like early in the morning. I write for 2 hours, pen and paper, and I use cheap computer paper. Why? Because I'm not concerned, right, about just like struggling, drawing, out my thoughts and my feelings and putting things on paper that aren't going to be very good. Because like I buy this stuff by the box and it's super cheap, right? I mean, my pens are like 36 pens for $13 on Amazon. But it helps me to get started. It helped me to get over the fear of putting my thoughts on paper. And, over time, I think if you get in this habit, you will get over that fear and you will realize that writing is really drawing out from inside you some really important and meaningful things that you wouldn't have come up with if you had just been like thinking about stuff. Like writing really is powerful. And just to give you a visual, as I said, I write 2 hours every day. This is every single day, starting from just before Christmas last year. This is everything that I've written this year. I don't know how many pages this is, but like I keep all my writing. This is probably like 1,500 pages. And there is no way that I would have written all this stuff if I had to use these beautiful Moleskine books, right? Or if I was concerned about, how pretty the words would be and would I come up with these magnificent expressions? So like, there's no way. Plus, it would be like a huge amount of money, right? So my suggestion is, probably we all feel that we're the star of our own play. And I think it's really common to feel frustrated if you can't find your lines. And I think deep down, one of the reasons people don't get started is because they're afraid that whatever they're going to write down isn't going to be worth much. So my recommendation is do whatever it takes, but maybe try just finding any old scrap paper, writing down, sitting down for however many minutes a day you can handle. Maybe start off like just 10 minutes a day and tell yourself whatever you write down, you won't even read it when you're done. At the end of the 10 minutes, you're just going to rip it up and throw it away, right? So there's no fear. There's no fear of having to look at what you're writing. And then hopefully over time, you will recognize that the writing really is helping and you really are starting to generate some, important things from within that you otherwise couldn't. I hope this video was really helpful. I hope it helped explain maybe some things that weren't quite clear to you. Have a great week. I'll see you in the next video.